just to get some tips here to be eating with your new mindset, guys. We're going to try to be avoiding distractions during meals and pay attention to the food that you're consuming. You're going to try to cultivate strong memories of the experience that you're having. This is going to help you feel full and stay satiated. Attempt to chew your food thoroughly and focus on enjoying each bite and thoroughly chewing it. Make sure you have thoroughly digested your food in your mouth first, chewing repetitively for long periods of times, mixing the nutrients with the enzymes in your mouth. This is a very overlooked part of the digestive process. Now, if you're trying to cut down on snacks, remind yourself what you ate for your last meal. You may find that recollection helps to curb hunger pains as you can remember how much you've consumed during the day. Also, be aware of food descriptions that cause a sense of deprivation. Even if you are looking for low-calorie meals, try to find products that you might enjoy eating or invoke a feeling of indulgence. Also, when eating, pay particular attention to flavor, texture, and presentation, basically anything that will heighten your enjoyment of the food and leave you feeling more satiated afterwards. Remember, again, you eat with your eyes first. Try to avoid sweets and drinks. It is very hard for the body to adapt to this kind of energy regulation due to their high calorie content and the fact that they do not contain much fiber. Enjoy the anticipation of food. This will prime your digestive response and also help you feel more satisfied afterwards. I think it's very helpful as well to just keep a small piece of paper or a tiny notebook with you and keep track of the food that you actually consume during the day. It'll stop you from grazing. Hello and welcome to Castle's Corner. I am Coach Castle, and today we're going to be doing another deep dive into mind over matter, or in this case, how your perception and expectations influence your fat loss, digestion, food preferences, appetite, and overall health. So in my previous video where I addressed how your perception and expectations determine your reality, now this includes your fatigue response and exercise, the ability to slowly remove one's self-limiting expectations, and the power of the nocebo and placebo responses in regards to your overall physical health. In this video, I'll be addressing some other fascinating and practical applications of the placebo effect on your health, such as the way it affects your brain's perception of appetite and digestion. So, let's get into the placebo effect in regards to fat loss, appetite, digestion, and a whole bunch of other things. So, now one example of how belief can affect your fat loss, or the placebo effect in action, is when obese patients who had been led to believe that they had undergone a surgery, such as a stapling of the stomach or a fitting of a gastric balloon. Now, to be clear, these patients did not actually undergo real surgery, just merely a drama meant to simulate the experience. Even so, they experienced reduced appetite and substantial fat loss, even though they were fully aware and briefed that this was a placebo. Overall, they still reported about 70% of the benefits seen by the people receiving real operations. So this is a placebo effect in action. Now, this study has been replicated many different times, and the results are always the same, basically translating to how your perception greatly influences your body's actual physical processes. Now, your perception also greatly influences your sense of satiation, as is demonstrated in a recent experiment, which was conducted with two different forms of shakes. Now, the reason that we use shakes, by the way, in these experiments is the ability to disguise the shake's contents once the ingredients are all blended. It's a lot harder to guess what went into them. I'll get into more of that later. But basically, two different shakes presented. The first shake on day one was presented as indulgence shakes. Decadence you deserve. Now, this shake was labeled very clearly as indulge yourself in this rich and creamy blend of our premium ingredients, scrumptiously smooth ice cream made with silky smooth whole milk and sweet vanilla. It is heaven in a bottle and irresistibly gratifying with a light, sweet, rich, and delicious taste. The label listed the energy content as 620 calories, a total of 270 of which came from fat in the shake, and it appeared in a glass cup loaded with ice cream, chocolate sauce, and sprinkles. Now, on day 2 of the experiment, the group was given their second shakes. They were labeled in big letters as Sensa shakes for guilt-free satisfaction. Now, this label encouraged the eaters to get sensible with the new light and healthy Sensa shake. It has all the taste without the guilt, no fat, no added sugar, and only 140 calories. This shake is light and tasty enough to enjoy every day. Now, this was accompanied by a picture of a single, very sad-looking, insipid vanilla flower. Now, here's the catch. In fact, on both days, the shakes were the same, containing 380 calories total. To measure participants' ghrelin response to these manufactured expectations, the researchers took blood samples at regular intervals, both before and after the participants had read the marketing material, by the way. Furthermore, they did it before and after they digested the shakes. Now, for the first trial, the participants' ghrelin levels changed exactly as you would hope after digesting a large, high-calorie meal, syncing up with the expected effects of the participants' hunger. However, for the Sensa shake, the ghrelin levels of the participants didn't change at all. It actually stayed the same. So ghrelin, by the way, is the hunger hormone. It decides if you're going to be hungry or not. Now, a reminder, by the way, the shake on both days was identical. It's exactly the same shake. It was just presented differently. Now, what this means is that just by creating a change of mindset with no actual altercation of the shake's nutritional content, the researchers appeared to have shifted the hormonal profiles in the participants, something chefs have been saying for years, but you eat with your eyes first. So, in the first one, the indulgent shake, had them all set up for greater satiation as well as increased metabolism because they thought it was very high calorie. In the other instance, the Sensa shake, it primed them for greater hunger and reduced the participants' metabolism because they thought it didn't have as much calories in it. Now, sometimes, it's an interesting tidbit here, but sometimes even the same exact substance can evoke intense pleasure or outright disgust. Now, this just depends, again, on someone's expectation. So, a mixture of isobaric and butyric acid, for example, it creates an odor that can be found in two very familiar substances to most people. These are Parmesan cheese and vomit, because of the stomach bile. Yet your brain will process the same aroma very differently depending on how it's labeled, basically how you're visually seeing it, leading you to either salivate in anticipation of your favorite Italian food, or to retch in disgust because you're looking at something disgusting, smelling vomit. So it's little wonder that people's tastes in food vary so much depending on their expectations and associations that they may be experiencing. Obviously, completely different things. This is, again, a kind of a cultural thing quite frequently. I mean, a lot of people like spicy food, other people don't. I mean, but even the perceived value of a food or a drink can drastically affect our sense of taste or enjoyment. Even the amount of dopamine released in your brain. Again, this is, chefs always say it, but you eat with your eyes first. So you might have experienced this yourself when tasting an expensive bottle of wine, for example. So just because the wine itself is more expensive, you kind of grant it a higher value. So thanks to your altered expectations, because of the higher price tag, you experience a marked improvement of the flavor, irrespective of the actual drink. Now, even changes in appearance can have similar effects, like when researchers colored the white wine red, just using basic food dye, which would not actually affect the flavor at all. Now, participants in one of these studies noted much richer tones in its taste, including traces of prune, chocolate, tobacco. Now, these all typically are only associated with real red wines. Now, the power of expectation is so strong, by the way, that even wine experts will fall for this taste bud placebo-based illusion, just because of the color of it. No influence on the taste. Now, furthermore, the presentation of your food can often disrupt your ability to accurately assess the contents of what you're ingesting. So basically, how you're presenting it to yourself, how you're buying it, really makes a big difference. So this is because when you're buying ready-made food or drink, you have little to no idea the true quantities of the ingredients inside, going back to why we use shakes and smoothies in research examples. So a smoothie, for example, contains many different assorted fruits. However, it looks very much smaller in the bottle. As the brain calculates its daily intake, it remembers eating just a glass of fruit, as opposed to, if you took all the cut up pieces of fruit and put it in a bowl and you were looking at all the bowl full of the fruit, you'd remember a much larger meal. It would take you longer to eat it. You're not just drinking it, you'd have to chew it, etc. Now, thus, this creates that expectation of being hungrier later because you just had a quick drink as opposed to sitting there eating a bowl full of fruit. And then, of course, there's the marketing of so-called healthy foods that can skew the brain's estimate of what you have eaten. So I see this all the time, but a food can be labeled low fat even if it has a high sugar content, simply because it has a slightly reduced fat content compared to the standard product. Now, calories are more what matters in this scenario. However, we know how sugar affects your insulin levels, etc. But again, it's marketing. And this results in increased hunger later, and also, as expected, eating foods labeled as healthy will lead to lower satiety because you think it's healthy, you're going to think you'll be less full. Now, this is an unfortunate and deeply embedded association between the idea of healthy eating and feelings of hunger. This inhibiting and, again, deeply rooted association can be so strong, depending on the individual, that even eating a good snack could be worse than not having anything at all. I see this all the time with my clients, quite frequently, and just because I haven't got around to explaining this kind of stuff to them, which is usually when we then have this kind of a talk. But research has revealed that our expectations of food can shape everything from the digestion of the food, increasing or decreasing of our hormonal response to the food. And even when people think that they're eating healthy, it's generally associated with a sense of deprivation. And that mindset is not the one that you want to take, if you're attempting to lose weight and shaping your physiological responses. Your appetite comes partially from the activity in your digestive system. In summary, when you eat, your stomach starts to stretch to make room for the food. And you also have sensors in the muscles surrounding the esophagus and the gastrointestinal tract that can detect this movement, that then pass these signals up to the brain. And this helps to create the feeling of reward, satisfaction, and fullness. By the way, it usually takes about 20 minutes for your brain to notice that you've actually ingested food. And furthermore, you have chemical receptors that can detect the presence of nutrients such as fat or protein when stimulated, and they release hormones to curb your hunger. Now, however, these sensory cues can give us only a crude estimation of how much we've eaten. It seems, and this is where it gets really important, guys, it seems that your brain also has to draw on other sources of information, such as memory and expectation, to make sense of information coming in from your stomach to create a sense of hunger or satiation. Now, a clear demonstration of how your memory helps to form your innate thoughts on your levels of satiety comes in the form of a recent experiment again, in which researchers asked a group of students to perform a taste test on a set of cookies. Now, the catch to this one was that they were free to eat the cookies only after completing a couple of questionnaires. Now, by prompting the subjects to remember that their lunch that they had just eaten and having them write down what they had just eaten had the dramatic effect of reducing their total consumption of cookies by about 40%. Now, this is in comparison to the control group of participants who only wrote about their general thoughts and feelings they were having that day before their cookie consumption. So different questionnaires. Now, one group just wrote about what they just ate, and the other group just kind of wrote about their feelings, essentially. Now, overall, it was the difference of around 4 cookies per person, which is around 800 calories per individual. Now, this is a huge number of calories for the average person, and it was accomplished simply by writing down how much they had eaten that day. This was due to the expectations of current satiation based on their recent memory. So again, the role of memory and expectation in creating a sense of satiety, because they just remembered how much they ate, they didn't eat as much. This same response could be seen with students who were brought into a lab to eat an omelet for breakfast in another study. As part of completing questionnaires, they were shown the ingredients of the omelet that they would be consuming and asked to confirm that they were not allergic to any of these ingredients. However, the difference in this experiment was that some were shown just 2 eggs and 30 grams of cheese, while the other group was shown 4 eggs and 60 grams of cheese. So, big difference. However, once again, in reality, all participants are eating the same sized omelet, which was 3 eggs with 45 grams of cheese. But for the initial viewing, changed their satiety and hunger for hours afterwards, thanks to a lowered expectation of satiety. So the participants shown the 2 eggs and a smaller amount of cheese ate considerably more pasta at a lunch buffet as compared to the counterpart group who had seen more ingredients in the previewing. Now, again, this is most of us. Most of us form these highly inaccurate food memories like these every day, and it has serious effects on our health. Eating while at the same time as not paying attention to your food, watching TV, driving, working on your phone, this can all act as a distraction that will impair your memory formation of how much of food you have actually consumed. Now, this will lead to the reduction in your expectation of feeling satiated, meaning not only do you eat more at the time, but you're also going to be snacking more later. Now, after analyzing the menus of 26 different American chain restaurants that offer healthy eating and examining the words that they use to describe different types of foods, researchers have found that the standard offerings were much more likely to include vocabulary that suggests emotions of enjoyment, such as crazy, fun, vice, dangerous, sinful, decadence, bliss, succulent, and mouth-watering, as well as the sensations of texture, such as creamy, crisp, gooey, tasty, tangy, flavorful, all of which would suggest a satisfying experience. Unfortunately, health foods, in contrast, were much more likely to contain words evoking simplicity, playful, mild, thin, light, skinalicious, deprivation-free, fat-free, low-carb, low sugar. So basically, in the health food descriptions, they were all about the things that the foods were not. In other words, they set up a kind of negative expectation, the exact kind of deprivation mindset that will amplify your hunger and send you straight to the cookie jar a few hours later. And furthermore, researchers found that simply adding the words fuller for longer to a yogurt container significantly decreased people's appetite up to 3 hours later. Now, it can be tempting when dieting to eat bland and forgettable meals. We all know the chicken breast, broccoli, and rice people, and the salad and grilled chicken. But flavor and texture are very important during weight loss, as they do help to create this sense of indulgence that increases satiation and also enhances our hormonal responses to food. Now, again, the smaller number of calories that you add to a meal are more than compensated for by the greater satiety that you experience later. Adding a little bit of barbecue sauce to that chicken breast to make it actually taste good, not like sawdust, that's a win, not a loss, guys. It's only an extra, give or take 20 calories, but it's going to make you feel full for longer. It's going to make you enjoy your meal, etc. And again, this is going to decrease your snacking later in the day. It's a winning, all is win-win-win. But the very worst thing you could do is to eat something depressive or insipid or bland that will leave you feeling deprived and miserable. Most diet foods, or most foods that you just buy at the store that are labeled as healthy, are exactly like this. I mean, just consider a study that followed 131 dieters over 3 months. The participants who associated treats like cake with guilt tended to gain weight over that period, whereas the participants who associated cake with celebration of an accomplishment made much more progress towards their weight loss goals. That's all how they were viewing it. So again, this is a common assumption and misconception that you don't want to, well, essentially, make sure you're enjoying the food that you're eating. That's why it's so important to actually know how to cook and how to season things, because it makes your food much better. You're much more likely to eat it. It's just much better in general. Don't eat bland diet foods. These are things that you don't want to do. Eat food that tastes good but is nutritious for you. Again, just a grilled chicken breast with barbecue sauce, much better than just a plain grilled chicken breast. The difference is 20 calories, but the satisfaction and satiety is going to keep you full for hours longer. But anyways, on to the next topic, guys. That's going to be liquids. So a lot of people don't even think about the number of calories they're consuming in liquids. Again, this is a big issue. Now, liquids contain fewer calories than foods generally, but not always. And of course, due to our expectations, usually translates to feelings of lower satiety when we're drinking things as opposed to eating things. Again, these are all very easy to understand things. You look at your food, you see a big plate of food, you understand its calories. You look at a drink of red liquid or clear liquid, you don't really think, oh, that has a bunch of calories in it. This is most people's, kind of misguided assumption of foods and calories in general. However, this expectation does directly influence the way in which they're going to be digested, including the amount of time that they're going to spend in your stomach. So again, just another study as an example. A bottle of soda has the same calories as a donut generally. But because of our lower expectations, you will feel just as hungry after you drink the soda, failing to compensate for the energy intake. Now, this is very hard to explain if you believe that our hunger arises solely from the chemical sensing of nutrients in our stomachs. Now, in one strand of this experiment that demonstrates this effect perfectly, the participants were given a cherry-flavored drink and asked to record their feelings of fullness throughout the day. Now, the catch in this case, I should say, is that before the participants were given that cherry-flavored drink, the researchers gave them a viewing of 2 different demonstrations, each showing a different way that the food would be reacting when it met with the stomach's acid. So, some of these participants were shown the drink mixing with another liquid without changing form at all, so just maintaining a liquid form, while others were shown the liquid solidifying into a mass, basically when it mixed with the stomach acid. This process made the nutrient concept seem much more tangible and substantial. Now, the effects of this manipulation were clear from the participants' responses. Those who believed that the drink would remain liquid in the stomach reported feelings of very little satiation from what they had consumed. Statements like, "It went right through me," "I don't feel any fuller," were common in the participants, "I'm still hungry," etc. However, for those who believed that the liquid would transform into a solid due to their demonstration, they felt much fuller. "It feels like I swallowed a rock," or "It was very surprising to me, as if I had consumed a large meal." One of the participants reported feeling so full they couldn't even finish the glass. Now, these self-reported sensations were reflected in various objective measures, such as after taking the drink, participants swallowed a chemical tracker that allowed the scientists to track the course of the drinks through the digestive tract. And when the participants believed that the liquid had taken a more solid form, it took almost double the time for the liquid to pass from the mouth to the large intestine. This slower movement could explain why the participants felt fuller for longer. Now, on average, they consumed 400 fewer calories over the course of the day as compared with those who believed that the drink had remained liquid in their stomach. Now, in the past, we might have imagined that people who had difficulty dieting, people who had trouble adhering and losing weight or being consistent over time, was purely because they were weak-willed or because they had very low self-control or some other reason. They just didn't want to give up the momentary pleasure of food. They were addicted to eating, and they're emotional eaters. The truth, however, is much more complicated. So imagine you visit a doctor who tells you you are at risk for obesity, and you may respond with good intentions and buy a lot of low-calorie foods. But the very idea that they are healthy and all of the associations that word has on your mind and will gonna set you up for feelings of deprivation with direct effects on physiology. After eating a meal, you may have higher levels of ghrelin running through your body. Your food may pass more quickly from the throat to the gut to the intestines. Now, this is, of course, due to the belief that there's less material to digest, regardless of the actual calorie content, meaning that you will feel hungrier and your cravings will be more intense. The belief that dieting is inherently difficult will have become a self-fulfilling prophecy, and when faced with such difficulty, it is not surprising that someone with a high level of willpower even will struggle to make the lasting change in their eating. So, just to get some tips here to be eating with your new mindset, guys, we're going to try to be avoiding distractions during meals and pay attention to the food that you're consuming. You're going to try to cultivate strong memories of the experience that you're having. This is going to help you feel full and stay satiated. Attempt to chew your food thoroughly and focus on enjoying each bite and thoroughly chewing it. Make sure you have thoroughly digested your food in your mouth first, chewing repetitively for long periods of times, mixing the nutrients with the enzymes in your mouth. This is a very overlooked part of the digestive process. Now, if you're trying to cut down on snacks, remind yourself what you ate for your last meal. You may find that recollection helps to curb hunger pains as you can remember how much you've consumed during the day. Also, be aware of food descriptions that cause a sense of deprivation. Even if you are looking for low-calorie meals, try to find products that you might enjoy eating or invoke a feeling of indulgence. Also, when eating, pay particular attention to flavor, texture, and presentation, basically anything that will heighten your enjoyment of the food and leave you feeling more satiated afterwards. Remember, again, you eat with your eyes first. Try to avoid sweets and drinks. It is very hard for the body to adapt to this kind of energy regulation due to their high calorie content and the fact that they do not contain much fiber. Enjoy the anticipation of food. This will prime your digestive response and also help you feel more satisfied afterwards. I think it's very helpful as well to just keep a small piece of paper or a tiny notebook with you and keep track of the food that you actually consume during the day. It'll stop you from grazing. You can also use your phone. Your notes on your phone is a very helpful way to do it. If you're in a hurry, just dictate it. A lot of people, my clients, for example, use MyFitnessPal. They keep track of their food that way. I personally just handwrite it. Everybody's different. Do what works for you, but just don't deprive yourself. Understand how very powerful your expectations and perceptions are on your reality. If you haven't seen my other video where I address exercise and mind over matter and exercise, I would really encourage you to check it out, guys. But anyways, that's it for today, everyone. And thank you very much for watching. I appreciate all the support. Please just make sure that you leave a thumbs up. Comment below for the algorithm if you're able to. A smiley face, a thumbs up for the algorithm. Something you learned in this video is it'll help you remember it, and others if they see it in the comments. And of course, if I can ever help you, just check the description box below this video and you'll see all my links there. Everyone, have a great day and be safe. I hope this was helpful.